Hello students, today we will do a chapter from your political science syllabus and this will be chapter 5, citizenship. Follow the video carefully and then read the chapter. This is the first part of the chapter, so follow it carefully. The term citizen is generally used to refer to a resident or a member of a state. In ancient Greece and Rome, we find that people who took active part in the administration of the state were considered to be citizens, whereas the women, the slaves, and the workers were considered to be not citizens of the state. Again, in the modern times, we find that the word citizen is used to mean a person who is permanently residing in a state, enjoying all the rights including the political right, that is the right to vote or the right to be elected, and he owes his allegiance to that particular state. If a person is fulfilling all these criteria, then he is termed as a citizen. Apart from the citizen, in a state we find there are also people who are temporarily residing in that state, and they do not enjoy all the rights, that is mainly they do not enjoy the political rights. These people are known as aliens, like the students, diplomats or tourists who have come to that particular state for a purpose, and they are not the permanent members of the state. They are not permanently residing there, but as they are residing in that state, obviously they are known as the aliens. Again, apart from aliens, we find that there are also people living in a state who do not enjoy the political rights or who have not attained the age to enjoy political rights, like the children or the adolescent. And these people are called the nationals. So in a state we find the citizens who are permanently residing in a state, enjoy all the rights including the political rights, and they have their allegiance to that state. There are aliens who are temporarily residing in the state. They do not enjoy all the rights, especially the political rights. Again, we have the nationals who are residents who do not enjoy political rights or who have not yet achieved or attained the age of enjoying political rights, like the children or the adolescents. So in a state, we find that these people, these three groups of people generally reside. Again, the word subjects is also used to mean people residing in a place. The word subject is used generally to mean those people who live in the colony formed by another state. Like people residing in the British colonies were known as the British subjects. Though nowadays we do not use the word subjects, but still at one point of time it was used to refer to those people who lived in the colonies formed by another state. Now we come to the methods of acquiring citizenship. If we look at the methods of acquiring citizenship, we find that it can be broadly divided into two groups. That is citizenship determined by birth and citizenship by naturalization. Again, citizenship by birth is divided into two. That is jus sanguinis or by virtue of blood, and jus soli, that is by virtue of birthplace. We will take up the first one, that is jus sanguinis. According to this principle, the citizenship of a child is determined by the citizenship of the parents, irrespective of the place of birth. For example, a child born to Indian couple will get the citizenship of India as both his parents are Indians or have the Indian citizenship. States like Switzerland, Sweden, France, they follow this principle of jus sanguinis. The second is jus soli, where citizenship is determined by the birthplace. That is, according to this place, the place of birth of the child becomes the main factor in deciding the citizenship. Suppose a child is born in a state and his parents are citizens of another state. Like a child born to Indian couple in Argentina will be recognized as citizens of Argentina. Some critics or some states they follow this principle of jus soli, like that of USA, Argentina and others. Here, if the place of birth is more important, and we find that if a child is born suppose in an in a ship or an aircraft, then it will be treated as birth in a country with which the ship or the aircraft is registered. Both these methods of jus soli and jus sanguinis are not flawless, that is, they are not completely what we can say devoid of any kind of disadvantages. They have their own shortcomings, because according to the critics, jus sanguinis, or by virtue of blood, if we determine citizenship, then it is also not, it will become difficult, because the citizenship of the parents is important. If if the parents are citizens of two different countries, then which citizenship this child will get? Then that creates a problem. Again, if we recall the jus soli, or the citizenship determined by birthplace, we find that if an Indian couple have 4 children and the 4 children are born in different countries or in different states, then what will happen to the citizenship of these of the children? So both these two methods are not flawless. So we find that most of the states in the world, they follow a combination of both the methods. India also followed a combination of the jus sanguinis and jus soli in determining the citizenship of the people residing in India.